I need you to stop what you're doing right now. Not slow down. I need you to actually stop, because what I'm about to say to you has the power to completely change the story you've been telling yourself since your relationship ended. You have been sitting with this idea that you were not enough, that the way things fell apart is proof that something is broken inside of you, that if you had just been easier, less emotional, less intense, less of whatever they made you feel like you were too much of, that it would have worked. But I'm here to tell you that that story is a lie. It's not a misunderstanding. It's not a difference of perspective. It's a lie, okay? And today, we are going to burn it down together. I know what this has felt like. I know you have been lying awake, replaying moments, wondering, what did you do wrong? I know you've apologized for things that were not yours to apologize for. I know you have made yourself smaller, trying to figure out how to fit into a space that was never too small for you. It was too small for what they were capable of giving. That is the part nobody told you. It was not that you were not enough. It was that you were too much. Too much for where they were. Too much for what they had been taught love was supposed to look like. Too much for the version of themselves that they were still living in. And that is not your flaw, guys. That is your gift. Okay? Stop. Because that line just changed everything. And I need you to feel that in your nervous system before we even keep going. Okay? I want you to think about your person's history. Think about the love they had known before you. Had they ever really dealt with someone as raw and as deep as you are? Had anyone ever loved them the way you love them? Fully present, fully honest, fully in? Or had every relationship they ever had stayed right there on the surface, where nobody went too deep, nobody faced anything real, nobody had to do any heavy lifting? Think about the patterns. When things got hard, what happened? Did somebody stay and do the actual work? Or did somebody quit? Did somebody step out? Did somebody find a reason to leave before it ever got deep enough to even matter? Because if that was the only blueprint they ever had, you walking in with the kind of love you carry was not just new to them, it was completely foreign. Completely. And some people do not know how to receive what they've never been given. Okay? Don't rush past that. Stay right there for a second. Okay? Maybe when they met you, they saw exactly what they had been looking for. Maybe they were drawn to you because something in them recognized it. The depth, the realness, the kind of love that they had been starving for. Maybe they had already decided they were done. Done with the same cycles, done with the same love that kept leaving them empty, done settling for less. And that awakening, that moment of I deserve real love, that is growth knocking on the door, right? But here's the question nobody asked them. Were they ready to give what they were asking to receive? Because you cannot declare what you are ready for, something that's deeper, only to bring the same old version of yourself that you always have. You cannot say, I want someone who meets me at my worst, and then withdraw every time someone else has their worst moment. Wanting better is the beginning. Becoming better, that is the part that actually costs something. Be honest with yourself right now. Did they ever really pay that cost with you? Did they meet you at your flaws the way you met them at theirs? Did they nurture you where you needed it most? Did they show up for your hard moments with the same grace you showed up for theirs? Or did they only want the version of real love that felt good? And they quietly opted out every time it required something from them. Because sometimes people are ready. They're completely ready to receive something different. But they never stop to think about the part where they also have to give something different. Okay? And maybe there were moments in that relationship where maybe you were inconsistent too. But ask yourself, why? Was it because you were not ready? Or was it because you were responding to someone who kept saying they wanted better, but they had no idea how to give it to you? They just never learned how to love you. I need you to sit with that. Don't run from that. Did they show up loud for you the same way you showed up loud for them? Or did they give you just enough to stay, while never giving you everything that you needed? And before we go any further, let me be clear about something. We are not talking about money. We're not talking about gifts or grand gestures or who paid for dinner. We're talking about showing up emotionally, being present when your person needed you to be present, holding space when everything in you wants to just check out, loving someone through their hard moments, not just their easy ones. You know what that looks like. You've lived it, and so did they. They just were not capable of giving it back. Because that inconsistency, that management of distance, was its own kind of rejection. Not the loud kind, not the kind that gives you closure, the quiet kind. The kind that has you apologizing for needs that are completely reasonable. The kind that makes you feel like you're asking for too much just by asking to be loved consistently. You were not too much. You were too much for where they were. Listen, if you need to pause the video right now, pause it. Because what I'm about to say, it's going to go even deeper. I don't know if you guys are ready. Here's what you actually gave them. You were the person who would have stood beside them in every hardship. Not the easy ones, the slow, the ugly, the uncertain ones, where most people find a reason to disappear. That was never going to be you. You were the person who saw their worst and stayed anyway, who met their ugly with grace, who loved them even when they made it hard to be loved. You were the person who studied them, who noticed the things they never asked anyone to notice, who wanted to know more about them tomorrow than they did today. You were the one who laughed with them, like really laughed, the kind that lives in your stomach and takes over your whole entire body, the kind you can't even manufacture with someone new, because it only exists with someone who genuinely gets you. You were their best friend, the one who would have gone to the end of the earth without even keeping score, the one who would have stayed in the darkest hour with them, not watched from the edge, stayed inside with them, however long it took. Did that land somewhere in your chest because it was supposed to? Listen, a diamond does not stop because a diamond was put down. It sits there. Exactly what it was always waiting to be recognized by. Somebody with the eyes just see it. But they put you down. Do not let that slide, guys. That was for you. Real love is not magic. It's two people committing to becoming aligned, who choose each other on the days it costs them something, who water each other even when they're running dry. A relationship grows where both people are tender to it. And it dies when one person decides the work isn't even worth it. They wanted the harvest without even picking up the shovel. You were the process. You were the invitation to become someone capable of real love. And they were not ready to RSVP. Making you the problem was the only way they could walk away without having to look at themselves honestly. It's always easier to leave than it is to grow. And they took the easy road. But here's what I know for certain. The patterns they were not willing to face with you, they don't just disappear just because you're no longer in the picture. They move with them. And that's not your burden to carry anymore. Because your job right now is not to worry about what happens next for them. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Your job right now is to stop letting their inability to rise become the story you tell about your worth. That one's going to be uncomfortable. Good. Stay in it. You know why? Because you were never meant to shrink yourself into something easier to hold. You were never meant to dim your depth so someone else could stay comfortable in the shallow end. You were meant to be exactly what you are. And the right person will not need you to be less. They will rise to meet you. It is okay if that just cracks something open for you. Your heels, their haunts. Your body already knows that this is true. Let it catch up to your mind. You were not rejected because you were broken. You were avoided because how whole you loved. Your depth did not drive them away because it was wrong. It drove them away because it was real. And real asked something of them they had never been required to give. One day, they're going to understand what they turned away from, not as a memory, as a reckoning. And by then, you'll be so deep into your becoming, loved, fully, chosen, loudly, living at the frequency you were always meant to live at. That's their realization, and that will never even reach you. Not like a memory, like a wound that never fully closed. It's not your burden anymore. That's their consequence. You were never the loss in the story. They were. And the most painful part for them, deep down, they already know it. You felt something when I said that. I know you did. Don't even try to talk yourself out of it. You were not too little. You were too much for where they were. And that is not something to apologize for. That's something to protect. Okay? Listen, as always, your frequency is your power. Protect it, feed it, trust it, and be intentional about who you let into your healing. Because we rise together, but only when we each do our own work. Until next time, guys, heal loud.